back to 5B1C Season 3. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for all support last week when we rebuilt the capital service area, and what enormous differences is made, right? Everyone was pretty much in agreement that a little bit of prop detailing and some asset orientation against the highway goes a long way, right? Love the ore fencing with intersection marking tool over here as well. Really nice, had a lot of fun putting this together, so thank you for all support on it. However, this week, and my final week of this rotation, we are leaving the capital and heading back to Egg's rural town over here, which has been quite a bit changed over this side of the map since we've been, so we'll have a little recap for those that might have missed the other creators. Our series leader and overlord Zardes has introduced a little farmland over here towards my end of the valley, which there's a bit of farm traffic going down here now, especially when we load it in, yes. All this here, so really we want to prepare a proper connection for these because it's sort of industrial traffic, so we'll try to hook them into the main road a little bit more effectively in today's build. And Yumble has moved in next door as well. Of course, he's after us in the rotation, so we haven't actually seen Yumble next door yet. And he's extended a little bridge, almost like a little handshake, right? So we're going to shake Yumble's hand again today. We're going to extend the bridge and connect our towns together. But, so Yumble's building in the desert biome, of course, in Pampatar. He's got some nice sort of central mall park designs, right? And a nice little placement of the playground there. That's quite nice. I don't know if that was intentional, I'm not sure, but it's, it aligns up near perfectly, doesn't it? Very nice. So, yeah, so we've got Yumble next door, he's building sort of a larger metropolis in the desert. So today we're going to be expanding our rural town. And I've got some nice ideas. What I really want to formulate for our town today is something of a little rural town centre. Maybe a unique building in here, some appropriate commercial placements, some car parking. And then we've also got a whole bunch of residential demand that needs to be satisfied in the city. So we'll have a look at that as well. I did want to do a forestry build here, but we don't have any industry demand in Pampatar at the minute. So I can't justify that for an episode. So maybe next rotation we can come in and do sort of the mountainside forestry area on this side of the tracks. But it has to be a sort of town expansion for us today. It's been a long time since we've been in this town, and I really enjoyed building this. This was a really, really cute little waterfront we put together. It feels like a long, long time ago now, doesn't it? All these little townhouses that we got in overlooking the bay. There's the little lighthouse on the peninsula there as well. Super cool, isn't it? Some classic gum tree gardens as well. Huge fan of those. And these houses come back through. Got some office assets in here too. It's all nice. Really enjoy piecing this together. Either way, let's build a little rural town centre to accompany the rural egg town, shall we? Okay, so starting out, what I'd really like to have happen here is to have the tax office at the end of this very long road that feeds in and out of town. So we come into our unique buildings, we're going to grab ourselves our tax office, and it's going to sit quite cutely here, isn't it? I think we can get away with that. Let's just have a little analysis of how this is going to look in the long term. I think it's quite appropriate, isn't it? That's going to be a really happy placement right the way down the main road. Quite an important approach into town. You imagine this would have some sort of historical importance as well, right? All leading down to the main sort of town hall over here. Okay, but again, let's give it a little bit more importance. So we'll throw it over there for right now. Let's go ahead and grab ourselves a plaza. We'll come into parks. We could probably use one of the regular vanilla ones. I think it's going to be most appropriate, isn't it? So why don't we throw down plaza with picnic tables? We'll have two of these over here. We will also come on with Tree Anarchy 2 and place our own trees in it. And since we're pretty fond of the gums that we're using in this map here today, why don't we do a little triplet of them, aligning them with the benches, so there's a nice sort of barometer of how to place these things. Let's go ahead into a small road, and we'll see what we can grab. Let's go for maybe one of these 2-lane avenues with trees. I do use these in ILOs, they are quite nice. So we'll drag them around the back. Okay, we definitely also want to turn off the traffic lights on these junctions. I'm also going to hide the relatively horrible vanilla crossings here as well with node controller. And then we can drag this in now. And again, we really want that to sit centrally, don't we? I think we'll actually do it as a manual placement rather than using Move It. because that's going to allow us to stay as central as possible. So make sure that we're still respecting that centralization. There we go. That's going to be a really nice sort of plaza space outside of the town hall, isn't it? Really happy with that. That's quite cute. Wonderful. So there's plenty of little amenities that we can drop around this build here today. Let's come ahead and remeasure these. So we're at 20 units either side. That should be okay for me. We'll then come up by 30 units, and then we'll use that forest as a sort of natural border as to where our town will end. And then again, there's lots of little, nuances that we can draw in here. Now let's also feed our roads up, and let's not always respect the symmetry here. Let's try and perhaps bring in some different shapes. So the measurement here to the end is 14 units. That's going to be quite perfect. So let's do a little 7 curve. Okay, and then we'll bring that in. That's just going to bring a little bit more interest, and of course with the airport's DLC now, we can actually upgrade the trees on the road. So why don't we go for not those? Not be a safe drive with it. Perhaps just some regular palms on these. Okay, some live oaks would also work nicely here as well. Okay, but I think I'd like all the main trees to be sat within the grid itself. So in order to sort of draw the eye towards those trees a little bit more, what we could do is upgrade some of these trees into, perhaps one of these. A small filler bush. I think that'd be appropriate. Yeah, so let's go for those. Always really enjoy piecing together these sort of cute little modular town centers. There's lots of different shapes and designs you can bring them into. Okay, and then where we have this separate section of road here, why don't we go for a slightly different tree? That's already not looking too bad, is it? I think I'm relatively happy with that for right now. It's going to give us sort of a town centre frame anyway, which is what is really important. So now I'd like to bring in all the other roads around here that are part of this build today. So let's go ahead and re-amend this curve so we can align it exactly where we want. We will use freeform here. And I'd like it to sort of run there. I'm going to eyeball this one, but we should be okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's bring this down now. Fantastic. There's also more opportunities for waterfronts along here as well in future builds once we come back in for another rotation. I've kind of realised that because there's so many guest builders and so many main builders in this season, it's going to be a long old series, this one. So I hope you're enjoying 5B, because it is absolutely here to stay. We've got a long way to go yet. Okay, so we'll bring this one down, and then again, let's go ahead and throw in that road guideline snap down, try and break out of that grid a little bit. Okay, bring in some more interesting shapes. Let's also feed it down into this collector system along the coast. We can see an opportunity perhaps where we can get in some more zonable spaces here again to get that residential demand in. So yeah, I really just want to maximise the zoning squares here. Quite a packed out little suburbia, if you like. Let's get another connection in there, and then what we will do is come back onto a road guideline with our curve tool. And we won't freeform for this actually. And then we'll align this up, and then this can also hook into that town centre frame as well. And then just a little bit of forest brush. And then we'll use the natural sort of mountain forest that's here to mark the edge of the town. So now let's return to this rail crossing. We're going to delete this dirt road frame that was here. And I'll bring this one out. We can now allow a little bit of freeform to happen. And then we can hopefully give a larger, sort of more important road connection to meet up with Zardes, which will hopefully hold a little bit more traffic for us. We'll also come on with Anarchy here as well. And then just slide the power line over. Okay, so we'll see how this performs in terms of handling the traffic a little bit easier. It's also going to want a forest brush on as well. There we go. Okay, so they should absolutely, well, they have to prefer it now because this is the only way in for them, but we should be okay. Yeah, this train network is becoming busier and busier. Zardes has a cargo station in his town, doesn't he? Yes, they are here. However, I would like to... We might actually ban industrial traffic on this road, you know. Yeah, I think we're going to paint a little district for that. Just because that industrial traffic is going to be causing a lot more issues on the train line, and we're not doing a train line rebuild today. So, we're going to do a little policy here. We're going to come on to city planning, and we are going to ban heavy traffic, which will allow no transport vehicles through here. So hopefully this will force all of Xardus' farm traffic back onto his highway exit rather than them coming through my town. So we'll see. Once the AI that is already had its path read through this way has gone through, we should be okay. So what I'd also like to do is carry on bringing this little country road in here as well. We're going to bring this up to 10 units, or turn off road bending. Come on with anarchy. And then we're going to do a little bit of node controller magic. So let's square everybody off. I want to offset the green a little bit, not too much though, because we're very near the node threshold there. And I'd like to shift this just down ever so slightly as well. Okay, let's also offset red. Do a little bit. So that rail there still has the bar on it, doesn't it? Which is quite dangerous. That is quite dangerous. I wonder, can we use network skins here to upgrade this rail line without the power line on it? Yes, we can. That works. Network skins has saved us. That's fixed that issue. Okay, so we've got a little country rail crossing here. Again, there's plenty of decoration that can be had here with fencing and overgrowth during our detail and town maps today. I'm also going to come in and square everyone off here as well, hide the crossings and just widen everyone out a bit, which will help their turning speed too. Okay, yeah, so we've got a lot less heavy industrial traffic coming down this road now by the looks of it, thanks to that policy. So that's good news. That is good news. Wonderful. So let's return to the suburb. So I do have a little district here that I believe is already preset to European suburbia. So I'm just going to carry on extending this down. Let's go ahead. We're going to need to water pipes up as well that way. I'm so not used to playing with water pipes on because of ILOS. Because I always hit the node limit, and water pipes are an enormous waste of the nodes. So I'm just not used to actually even seeing them anymore. Right, cool. That'll give us water coverage. And then let's go ahead and just get this to zone. Not massively bothered about mass zoning low density European suburbia. It all looks pretty nice anyway. So again, I'd like to save a little bit of detailing alongside the main road here. A little bit of sort of parkland and greenbelt. And then perhaps also saving some spaces for some pathways to come through. Where they would be most appropriate to link up with the pedestrian crossings here as well. Always keep everyone walking, right? That should be nice and fun. Again, all this can become residential as well. And this should be a nice time. So, we now have car parking in 5B, of course, and we haven't really built one of these town centre designs with the parking lot roads mod, so this should be quite fun. Let's come ahead with a 22 meter lot, and hopefully we can just bring this directly behind the town centre without clipping. Yes, that should be okay. So let's go ahead and bring that out by 10 units, and then we'll have a service road hook into here as well. Yeah, that seems good to me. Let's go ahead and throw down some disabled parking towards the back. We'll also get some electric parking in here as well. And then also some regular spaces. And then hopefully we can just come ahead and throw in some 4x4s here too. 4x1s rather. And then probably place in the rest ourselves. So also want lots of parks around here too. Let's come into our tennis courts. Let's see where we can find an appropriate space for these. Perhaps some sort of sport and recreational facilities to sit over this side. This might be quite fun. We can probably actually squeeze in a triplet of these with our friend Move It. So again, we'll just bring these in so we start to flesh out that concrete texture. Almost like, this would be a place where, you have a Saturday afternoon off. You want to come and just sort of enjoy some free time. And you can come down to the town centre, hit up the tennis courts. These do have lights on them though, so we actually can't really bob in this series because every time we do, we need to transfer the bob config files, and that's just not ever going to happen. Transferring saves and files between so many people, so we can't really bob them, but it should be okay. Alright, that seems good to me. We'll also bring a pathway in here as well. We can snap this into the grid, and then let's just allow this to hug the road as it comes down. No snapping will also be welcome for an area like this too. And it looks like this surface painter can now continue all the way down here as well. Do we want to surface paint this? I think we might as well, right? Although we're going to have to find some way to hide those trees, because they are currently growing out of the concrete, and I think we might have the fix for that actually. If we search for a plant pot and find it, we can get access to some of the Green Cities plant pot props. And I think if we just give each of the trees around the town centre almost like a little planter, using some of these, some of the trunks, sorry, I'm trying to actually speak English, are a little bit girthy. That one's quite thick, isn't it? These ones aren't too bad though. So again, we can hide some of it. We can maybe do a little double planter here for these wider trees. Yeah, same with this one as well. Let's go ahead and delete that prop, and then we'll do a double planter either for this side as well. Okay, just so it looks as though the tree is now growing out of the planter with the bush around the base of it, rather than just out of the concrete. Again, you could bob them off, but that involves me sending config files to all the guest builders and the main builders as their builds come up, and that's just not going to happen. So, we're not going to do that. Alright, wonderful. Let's come ahead and grab a power line temporarily, just so we can keep everyone connected in with the old electricity, of course. I don't know what I was going to call it then. Electricity is electricity, isn't it? Alright, so I mentioned here that I'd like some sort of arterial road decoration, and I'm thinking that a touch of vanilla dirt path is going to do a really grand job for us. So we'll just map out its initial connections. I think I'm going to keep this relatively straight. Okay, let's also have this in here as well. So there's currently no public transport in our town. I would love to bring trams into this, but we are absolutely hammering the Pampatar budget. So the reason this is happening, and we had a few comments across a couple of episodes of different creators of this, because this series we're all building our own towns alongside the capital. Each of the towns has their own service buildings. Everyone's got garbage collection, police and fire. So that means that within the early game, there is so many more service buildings than you would normally expect. So it's kind of a problem, but it's just going to have to be dealt with, right? That's just the nature of the series. So, yeah, so to bring in a tram depot here would be a major public transport expense, so I'm probably not going to do that, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think we are. So, with that in mind, let's do buses instead. So I'd also like some public transport here. Let's come into some of our bus roads. And then let's do a two-way bus-only road. This seems like it might be quite a nice time. And we'll have the buses come up Main Street. They will circle around. And then hopefully now here we can align near perfectly with this here. It looks like we might want to use a little bit of network multi-tool here. Note the node is adjusted. That's fine. Yeah, so we'll have this bus route come in. I guess we'll bring up to this road guideline here. There's no point adding another connection onto this road. That's going to start creating too many junctions for us, which isn't a fun time. So let's go ahead and get the bus lines flowing. There will be a bus depot somewhere in the city. I believe we should have one anyway. Or do we? No, we don't. We don't have a bus hub in the city yet. 40,000 people. No bus hub. Oh my word. Okay, let's get some buses in then. So we might as well put this in our town. I don't really see why not. And it looks like hopefully we can perhaps factor this into almost like a little bit of industrial overgrowth that might sort of sit against the back of the train line. So let's come off of the road guideline. We'll bring this dirt road out, and then again we're going to do the same thing here with node controller. And edit this node. We're going to offset our blue friend. Okay, and we probably don't need to rotate that one. Yeah, that one's going to be okay. Just have a look at the traffic here. I'm surprised that the industrial traffic is preferring to head through this way. Through sort of the back-end rural houses down this side of the town. I really thought they would prioritise this one. I mean, we can always ban the traffic on this road, which we're going to do. So let's come into vehicle restrictions. We want no goods vehicles down here. Service and everything else is okay. But yeah, we want all the heavy vehicles to come through. There is still a lot of heavy traffic coming through here though, isn't there? Even though we have the heavy traffic ban, am I misinterpreting that policy? I don't think I am. Got not enough customers one in there. That should hopefully change as this residential pocket grows out. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, it's not backing up, it's not gridlocked, but it could become eventually. I don't understand why they're not just taking Xardus' main highway exit. That reminds me, actually, so last rotation, we put some bushes, a little bush garden in Xardus' town, but he didn't notice it. For those that are watching his episodes, you would see that he totally oblivious to this. So we're going to copy and paste this pattern and place it in a few more spaces for him. And we're going to keep doing this until he notices that we're building bush gardens in his town. Where else can we get one? So we've got one down by his waterfront. Let's get one in his suburb as well. Right. Thought this was pretty funny last time. I'm just going to create these little overcharged egg Easter eggs, if you like. Overcharged Easter eggs in his town. Right, looks like he's going to build here at some point, right? So let's maybe place one here. So, nobody tell him. We're just going to keep placing these every rotation until he notices. And then once he has noticed, we'll go and do it to someone else. Wonderful. Right, let's return to detailing. My apologies, everyone. This episode feels a little bit disjointed today. We're snapping to the grid, which we already are. That's great. And then let's not delete the pathway. That's not what we want to do. So whilst we just continue to meet the residential demand, everyone's relatively happy here. I think I'm happy with smaller zoning spaces for Euro Suburbia. They are relatively nice. We'll probably do some more plot commercial, plot residential along here. Maybe bring that townhouse pattern back down here too. We got a little bit of crime. Crime at the basketball court. We do have a police station here, right? Yes, it's on the waterfront. Okay. That'll get taken care of eventually. And then we've also got not enough customers here. So again, that will hopefully change as the town grows out today. Yeah, so buses. Yeah, that's what we were doing, wasn't it? Yeah, buses. My apologies. So this one's 900 a week. Yeah, we'll go for the regular one. Biofuels are overtly expensive. I think I'd like it to sort of face into the town centre like that. And then what we will do is bring in this little country road and then just have it here. Fantastic. So now we can do bus lines finally. So let's go for one to service this area. And of course, if people want bus lines, they now have the option. So where's going to make the most sense? We'll do two lines. We'll have them alternate against each other. So if we were to have one that starts down here on the waterfront, it can then come up onto Main Street. And then it's going to make sense to stop outside the train station. And perhaps out here as well to meet up with the commercial. It can stop probably over here again now is the best way for it to go. I do want to force it around the other way though, yeah, so we'll do that. And then it can come down here. And now it can just mirror its stops all the way back down the main road. And then it can loop around the suburb and meet up with its line again. Cool, so we've got a nice mirrored bus line coming through town now. That should be nice. And then I'd also like to add in another bus route over here as well, just so this bus lane's getting a little bit more use. And then why don't we use this almost as like a shuttle express into Xardus' town? Xardus does have a train station here. So let's go ahead and throw a stop in. So add another stop. Yeah, so we'll have this as a little shuttle bus line that goes to Xardus' town. I will get it to stop near his train station. But if he wants to move that stop, then he can. But, you know, that's going to be a little bit of public transport connectivity for us. Little shuttle bus line that comes and goes. Okay, here come the buses now. These should be our buses, so let's go ahead and change the vehicle. We're going to go for... How about a minibus whilst we're in this little rural theme? Right, how about a blue minibus? Does that look horrific? We'll watch them come out of the depot. There we go. Yeah, I think that's appropriate, right? For a little sort of seaside rural town. I don't think I want the proper large buses. So now I'd like to decorate our bus stops using some taxi stands. So we can see the bus stop there, the little sign that appears on the side of the road. So we'll place in a couple of taxi stands. We can probably actually end up doubling these up just to increase the width of them. And then we'll just slide these along using Move It. It's always fun to be creative with vanilla assets like this to sort of expand the bus stop if you like. Yes, power will eventually sink, don't worry, that's going to be okay. So the buses will just come out here slowly but surely. I think for the Zada shuttle line, let's have a look how many are on this one. It doesn't need to be mega busy, does it? It's 6 way too many buses. Let's bring that down to like 7. Don't need 16 serving that line. It's only a little shuttle route. Cool, so still coming to plot the growables. We're also going to grab some of our favourite university city commercials here. Just a couple little delicate placements of the appropriate assets. Things like catfish cafes, and then perhaps this little brick commercial as well. There's also one with a little sort of garden out the front of it as well, isn't there? Is this the one I'm thinking of? Yeah, let's not go for that one. That's a little bit sort of run down looking, isn't it? Let's go for the Sky Bar. And then maybe a deli as well. I think the benches outside the deli are a very welcome aesthetic, aren't they? So we'll do that. We'll have that there. I'm also going to move these over ever so slightly. Then we'll go ahead and grab a vanilla walking pathway. Then that can feed back into our town centre there. Some more opportunities for assets and stuff over this side. So I'm not averse to maybe a little bit of high density residential over here. It has to be plopped really though. I don't really want to leave it up to chance, but we'll come to that anyway. Let's carry on zoning up some squares of European suburbia, spaces that we're happy to have growing organically. Yeah, probably all this space here as well, along this main road. And what we'll probably do is give a heavier tree line to these roads here as well. Probably a live oak from the content creator trees is going to be appropriate. Let's make our larger spaces more zonable. There we go. And then all this can become residential as well. Okay. Coming along slowly but surely. Let's also go ahead and hide the crossings here and offset a little bit. Again, not too much because we're playing with relatively tight spaces in node controller here. Alright, wonderful. So, our bus depot is going to want power, for which we will have to do a little bit of manual zoning here with commercial. So again, I think what we will do is repeat that path pattern on this side of the road, at least for a little bit. So we'll have some organic commercial grow up here, and then again, this is sort of the end of the town centre here. We can maybe prepare something to leave out this side. Perhaps some sort of mountain road if we do something with these mountains here. It can perhaps hook in with whatever Zarda's builds on this side eventually. So we'll leave that there as a reminder that that should happen. And then we'll bring in some more commercial on this side as well. Cool. So again, there's lots of really cool overgrowth detail available around here. Let's go ahead and bring in a pathway here. Let's grab some of those vanilla overgrowth pallets now. And then just lots of them around the bus station, or bus depot rather. Yeah, so we really need to get some more taxpayers in to keep eating away at this deficit that we have in the budget. It is struggling in the minute. Okay, looks like our buses are slowly heading out now. Yes, the ones we've cancelled are going back into their stations. That's great. Okay, so let's go ahead now and grab some nature reserve fencing. Or should we go farm while we're a little bit sort of at the end of the more established part of town? I think that'd be appropriate, wouldn't it? So bring in some nature reserve fences here to make sure not to encroach upon the road though. Are we alright there? Might want a little bit of move it just to shift it back, but otherwise I think it's okay. We can also grab a repeatable tree pattern. And how about some of these? These are pretty cute, right? They might be perhaps a little bit more official than I was hoping for, but we should be okay. Probably also want to definitely connect this in here as well. There we go. Are we syncing through with power now? I think we should be, right? Delete the power line. And then I definitely want to keep this a little repeatable pathway coming down the main street as well, just as a little shelter and border against the main road. And again, some more of these columnar trees. And we'll see what we think of this aesthetic now. It can always be quite nice to not zone right up against the road. Just give things a little bit of room to breathe. It can make a world of difference. Right, but things are slowly growing up around here now. Happy for this commercial to come in. Yep, this is all nice looking stuff. Make it historical as well. Hopefully, once the commercial grows at this side, we should sync the power through to the bus stop, or bus depot. I will actually remember the proper name for it eventually. Okay, so let's return to plopping in some main street houses. Thankfully, we already have these cute little townhouse patterns that we dropped in last episode. So these can just be reused now as and when we want them. So we'll have a couple more this side. That's going to be grand. Might also add 2 more into the pattern here. Okay, and then perhaps a touch of 5B at 1C Forest on the back here to shelter from the train line. Wonderful. That's going to fill that out nicely for us. So let's come back in. These guys should have power now. Yep, brought a power line over. There we go. Wonderful news. So now the buses are coming out. That's wonderful. That's great. And getting some commercial growth here as well, which is fine. Definitely want to make sure we save room for that path pattern to come back through here as well. Yeah, let's have that up there. And then what we'll do is just develop some sort of more natural looking overgrown green belt between these spaces as we move back into the countryside as we head into the valley that moves down into Zardis' town. And again, during our D10 time lapse we can bring these designs back in. Also like to add some more parks in. Again, let's go for some large playground here. This feels like it might be appropriate. And they've already connected it themselves, which is absolutely wonderful. We don't need to do anything with the pathways there. So I did mention I want some high density residential. Having a scan through the ploppable assets, I think that our Art Deco houses here are going to be most appropriate. But again, I'd like to do something quite cute with the road network. So this road right here is probably ideal for what I want actually. So let's do a measurement of 10 units, or 8 should be okay actually. No, we'll do 10, we'll do 10. Same again on this side, 2 more nodes, there we go, there's 10, and then we can connect them together. We'll come into node controller. Right, let's square everybody off, and then we also want to bring green a lot more forward alongside blue as well, also offset red. Let's hide all of our markings. Bring that in, and then really we want to shift out the blue node here whilst offsetting the red. There we go. Just want to really widen out these nodes here. We'll also square everybody off here too. Let's bring green forward a little bit just to remove that slight tearing that we get in the pavement. There we go. So we're all feeding it into the same node. And then really just the same thing over here again as well. And then we'll start shifting orange out so it looks somewhat straight. There we go, and now these offsets can be brought in. Really is so much fun playing with little ideas of node control like this, okay? Makes our road frames a lot more interesting. And then what we can do is just come in and place some of these Art Deco houses now in repeatable patterns. So I think we'll go for one right there. And then again, we can just align them up. So they do have windows on the side, but I'm going to ignore that fact. And just essentially piece them together so it looks like one sort of continual asset, like a little set of condos that's within the town centre itself. Let's also bring these in now, and then we can just do the same thing. Okay, making sure that we're nice and even and level. I'm happy here. There's also possible sort of repeatable colour designs here as well if we wanted to do that. Then we can grab all 4 now, and this hopefully should fill the pattern nicely. Might just want to be trimmed off a little bit here where it's encroaching on the road, is it? Yes it is, it's too close. And now we've got that pattern in. Okay, it's going to bring a little more population in, more taxpayers, so we can slowly eat away at this deficit that's destroying the treasury. And then why don't we do a touch of surface painter within this green space that we'll have here now. Apologies if you just heard that bone squeak. Coco is recording with me today. And then again, I think some of those plant pots that we used earlier for the town centre would be more than welcome here, perhaps on a little linear fence fill maybe. We can come up with our prop line tool and prop line tool anarchy as well. And if we can just line this up relatively centrally, we can perhaps have them come through this space here. And then using that same thought process of, perhaps a smaller tree that we're using in this pack. Let's go for, I wonder if these would work, the little bush fillers. They are a little bit big, but we can mostly get away with them. Should we find something more appropriate? Probably should. Yeah, I think these will be fine. Go ahead and place a few of these trees in the plant pots. Do like a planter pattern. And these green cities ones essentially do work as sort of planters, because we're obviously without assets within this series, so we don't have any of our own planter assets. There we go. Okay, that should just make our high density developments a little bit more interesting. You know, we've got this little plant pot pattern out the side. Now you could also cut this in half as well and have a pathway come through it, and maybe have some crossings here as well, which we might do actually, because we have the pedestrian pathway here. I think if we insert a crossing node at that point, we'll delete the pattern there. We'll then have a very small vanilla walking path come through to connect it. And then we'll come back into node controller and then insert a crossing there as well. And node markings. Okay, we can possibly do some IMT stuff here as well for a crosswalk if we wanted to. Let's go ahead and hold shift to create that crosswalk. We will widen it out to the width. There we go. So that'll just add in the appropriate road markings within the sort of break in the median, if you like, okay? Cool. And again, I think, yeah, what we will do is we'll maybe go sort of cream, black, cream, black, cream, black with these patterns. Again, how we do that if you don't know. So for example, we want this one to be cream, select it with move it, hit the 3 dots and then just hit reset object. And it will eventually spawn in is the colour that you want. Oh, here we go. Yes, he's going to use it. He's going to cross over. Yes, there we go. It works. It works. Then he has access into the town centre now. Is he going to take the bus? Yes, he is. Wonderful. There we go. It works, everyone. It works. Cool. Yeah, so we just got some sort of lighter condos in here now. That's going to count as high density residential for us. It's more population, more taxpayers. Everyone's going to be happy. That should be relatively wonderful. However, guys, that does feel like a good place for a detailing time-lapse. Now we have all of our frames and initial sort of thought processes and concepts in. I'm going to carry on filling out each of these spaces in the town centre with various different designs, including more park space, and perhaps some more service buildings, maybe a medical centre, although we do have a medical centre in the town already. So again, just to avoid hammering the budget even further, it's probably not a wise idea to do that again. So that should be fine. That should be cool. Lots more detailing around the edge with appropriate commercial placements, and also bring this forest back down to kind of envelop and mark the edge of this side of the town over here. The traffic is still moving. It's okay. I'm relatively happy with that, I think. Not the worst thing in the world. And these bus stops are gradually getting busier. Oh, they didn't stop. What are you doing? Oh, that wasn't a bus. I thought she was in a minibus. That's just a van, you idiot. Yeah. So there's a few people beginning to pick up these stops now. People are taking the shuttle over to Zardes' town. Bring in lots of natural overgrowth around the rail line and the bus depot. Just so it sort of looks a little bit more appropriate and fits in with the theme and blends back into countryside. Bring this repeatable tree and fence pattern back into the road here again as well. It's already getting some nice use now. People choosing to walk up into the town centre, which is great. I always appreciate a pathway getting used. Yes, please. Very nice. Lots and lots of fun. And then I'm also going to bring this road down here as well and shake hands with Yumble as he has extended one for us. So that should give us a little bit more interconnectivity, hopefully, because at the minute they have to take the highway to get into my town. So that should alleviate a little bit of the pressure off of my highway entrance and Yumble's pinwheel over here as well. Otherwise, just generally tie it into the area, see what we think. And I think what we're going to do with this coastline here, I was thinking maybe saving it for another build, but I'll probably just get some more residential zone in here, keep getting those taxpayers in to reduce the deficit in the budget, and then some rocks and overgrowth and just sort of make it a little bit more rough and ready and make this kind of the primary waterfront that we built last time. Because it's a rural town, right? It wouldn't have several waterfronts, I don't think, just the one main marina. And the rest of it is overgrown. Cool, but really happy with it. It's a really nice concept. Super happy with that view down Main Street now. up into the town centre. Yeah, lots of nice ideas to be had, ideas to be expanded. Otherwise, let's detail the Egg Rural Town Centre, and then we'll be right back. Okay guys, so let's have a detailing review, shall we? The minibuses are nice and busy now. If anything too busy, I could probably do with a high capacity bus, but I'm appreciating the aesthetic of the little minibuses in the rural town, so I'm probably going to keep them, even though they are quite busy, but it's fine. It'll be okay. Don't worry about it. So, here we have our repeated tree pattern now fully in, with the fencing that sort of lines the main road, all coming up through here, alongside some generic sort of overgrown greenbelt stuff that borders against the rail, and you can just about see sort of the more industrial looking bus depot just behind all the trees there, which turned out really nicely. We had demand in the town for some higher education, so also added in a little high school campus, which just has 2 basketball courts and some park life assets fused into it, and alongside a pathway which now flows through this space, with again some more of those planter patterns with some cherry trees dropped inside them this time, just to help murder a little bit of that concrete space. Within the empty space, again, I didn't want everything to be sort of zoned or concrete, so we just brought in some really generic, sort of nice Pampatar green belt with some benches and some lights on the junction of the pathway. It's turned out really nicely. It's really simple. Green belt detail like this adds a lot to a build, I think. More commercial placements and indeed a post office in and around the bus terminal place, which is sort of getting used now. The line over to Zardis' town is fairly quiet, but hopefully if he perhaps adds another stop in, then we can hopefully see this one get a little busier, but the internal bus line in the town is getting plenty of use now, which is nice. And then also just some more green belt patterns over this side too. We've also come in again with some more of these really cute little plant pot designs, and almost made like a little memorial garden here with a jacaranda, a sign and a couple of benches underneath it, just as part of the town centre. It's really cute just to see people walking through these little custom green belt spaces, isn't it? And the plant pots are a nice little border for it. So yeah, really cute little green belt spaces like this have popped up everywhere. Our little sort of art deco condos are now fully decorated and functional. It's nice to see people using these pedestrian crossings back and forth, which is really cute. And I love the little frontage road that sits here as well, of course, all tied into the same node using node controller, which just widen everyone's out a little bit. I'm a huge fan of doing this now. Now we're getting more comfortable with node controller. And then the suburb now extends down onto the waterfront, where we just have some rocks, bushes, and the occasional palm, just so it's not kind of boring, dead coastline. It's a little bit more natural looking and fits in with the theme. And then we've just allowed the green belt to spill back into natural forest, which then flows up and out of the mountain. This is where we will end our town. We won't build any further out than this. I want to keep it quite small and low key. The road that we've tied into Yumble's area does seem to be siphoning off a little bit of the traffic that's coming down this main street. It's not horrendous, it is clearing. It's just sort of a busy main street, right? And I'm happy with this aesthetic. A little bit of traffic is fine. You know, makes it feel a little bit more alive. But yeah, and then yeah, the Yumble Road is also getting a fair bit of use now as well, so just taking more pressure off of the highway junctions. So now Sims can traverse back and two between mine and Yumble's area. So lots more interconnectivity, and it's a really cute build. It turned out really nicely. However guys, that is going to do it for my rural town centre build, and indeed this is the last episode of my rotation. I believe next Friday you will have a guest builder in the form of Few Candy. She is coming in to do a build before Slay takes back over as the main builder. And then of course he's in there for 2 weeks after Few Candy, which is next week. Thank you for all support across my 5B builds. I'm really glad that you guys are enjoying them. And it's really fun kind of piecing together these different areas and each of the main builders having their own towns and having to contribute to the capital as well. I'm really enjoying the format of this series, and I hope you all are too. It's really fun to build like this, so yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you so much. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and checking out my other Cities Skylines series. There's plenty of vanilla content on the channel, and there's also a Phoenix-inspired modded city happening as well called Ilos. I'll leave all my main playlists linked down below. So if you're new, welcome in. And if you haven't enjoyed it, then I'm sorry. Then, you know, enjoy the rest of your day anyway. That's fine too. Otherwise, please hang around for some very short, cute cinematics of the expansion of Egg's Rural Town today. And I will see you probably in about 2 months. It's taken a long time to get back to these rotations just because there's so many builders and it's such a huge map. So it'll be interesting to see how much the city has changed when we get back into it then. But otherwise, I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.